Welcome to the 1099 Ladies Lunch and Learn. We're all very happy that you're here. The focus of today's Lunch and Learn is alternative healing. And there's a lot of talk out there about different forms of healing and what they might encompass, what their strengths are. And I've got some fabulous experts for our Lunch and Learn today, and I'd like to introduce them to you. So the first person who will be speaking today, her name is Deb Orol. She is a registered nurse, so that means she has a huge education behind her, but she's commonly known as the rogue nurse. And that is because she's come to understand the power of essential oils and how they are the solution, better and less toxic, for a great many things. And she's going to be talking to you today about the power of essential oils and how you might add that to your life to improve the quality of your life. Maybe using less of some of the toxic options, instead trying these natural solutions to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. The next person who is going to be speaking, her name is Dr. Estelle. Tsalik. I'm sure I butchered it. Did I get it right? Okay, that's a miracle right from the Lord. So Estelle has an incredible story. She is a doctor of physical therapy, and she's added to her credentials nutritional coach, and she understands the power of, you've heard that adage, you are what you eat, but she understands how food is having a huge impact on your personal life. So she's going to be explaining all of that to you way better than I'm personally capable of doing. But I do understand that sometimes we poison ourselves and don't even know it, that we're reading a label, not really getting it. And that sometimes we are our worst enemy. And I think she's going to really enlighten you about a lot of things that you might have in place in your life that maybe you want to consider either toning down or even completely eliminating to experience a better form of health. And who doesn't want to enjoy something like that, right? Our last speaker, Gaya, who's also known as the Magnet Lady. So the way she kind of explained it to me, which is a very elementary version of what she's going to be talking about, is that every cell in your body, you have a nucleus with protons and neutrons and electrons. I don't know if you remember that from your 6th grade science class, but a lot of unhealthy statuses in your body have to do with the fact that your magnetic thing is unaligned. And so she actually will, use magnets to kind of reset. A very dramatic example of that is when someone's having a heart attack and they do the electric shock to reset your heart hasn't really stopped. It's misfiring. It's firing out of order. So when they hit that electric shock, they reset your heart, and then it starts again in the right order, and the attack is over. That's really what's happening with that shock stuff. But electricity and magnets are friends. We used to make electric magnets when I was a science teacher. So I really feel like on a cellular level, she brings a very powerful tool to the table for restoring people's well-being. Now, at the very end, I'm going to bring this to your attention again, because, some people aren't here yet. And I want to make sure that everybody hears this. I'm going to be sharing this graphic without the invitation stuff, just the picture part. And my favorite takeaway, I'll probably do it 3 times, my favorite takeaway from each person. But in any event, when you see this graphic, I would greatly appreciate it if you would share it and put your favorite takeaway, because that is a wonderful way to thank these speakers for their time, to just let them get some exposure to everybody in your circle. As, even though I have a big circle, my circle gets bigger when I include the circles of everybody on the call. So that is a great way to say thank you to our wonderful speakers. Do we have any questions about that or any concerns about that? I would be surprised, but I'm willing to hear what anybody thinks or feels. Okay, so I'm going to take from your silence that you are ready to hear our first speaker. And so I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to ask Deb Orol to share what she has prepared for us.
All right. Good morning, ladies. You already saw a picture of me, but I love this picture because it shows my connection to nature. I just really believe that when we get back to nature and the power of nature, that all of these things that we're talking about today, the food that we eat, which comes from the ground, the electrical forces that we have, all are there, and things that have been forgotten as we've gotten into our crazy, crazy world of fast food and fast. And we've lost that ability to care for ourselves. So when I talk about what I do, I talk about tools, and essential oils are one of the many tools, along with nutrition and meditation and all of those things, that I use in my life for so many things. Um, so the first thing that I want to share with everybody is what is an essential oil. So Linda, at the beginning of this, looking at the grapes, was talking about grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is not an essential oil. Grapeseed is an oily oil, or what we would call a carrier oil. Essential oils are the scent and energy of the oil. So it's not going to have that oily feel. You're not going to have the oil like an avocado oil or olive oil or grapeseed oil. So it's the essence of the plant and that essential vitality of the plant, and usually has a connection with aroma. So, right now out there, I'm sure that you've heard about essential oils. They've been around for thousands of years. And recently there has been an upsurgence of essential oils. Just about every company that I know out there has some form of essential oil. I've seen essential oils in Walmart and Kmart and a dollar store. And so, there's obviously an interest in them. And as you're going to hear from me, quality and sourcing makes a huge difference in what you're getting. But why use them is that they can be there as a tool to replace many of the things that you're already using in your life, from skincare to cleaning products to something as simple and to think about. Oh my gosh, I have this discomfort in my head from the pressure that's out there, and I'm going to go take a Tylenol or an Advil before you put that in your body, which can have a whole slew of negative effects. Let me try something simple like an essential oil, which you're using topically, which can soothe that discomfort and maybe have you avoid taking something that may have those negative effects. They also can be a non-toxic version to many things. I've talked about cleaning, and we can talk about nutrition, and we can talk about exercise, and we can talk about all these things. One of the things that's not talked about enough in our society, as far as I'm concerned, is the toxins that we're exposed to on a daily basis. And so this is a definite way to decrease that toxin load. How to use essential oils. They're very simple. They're a very simple tool. And there are three main ways that essential oils are going to help you in your life. The first way is aromatically. So they have discovered that we have olfactory cells throughout our body, not just in our nose. And the power of smell affects us in so many different ways. It connects to a part of the brain called the amygdala, which is the power of memory. So I want you all to just close your eyes for 2 seconds. And I want you in your brain to peel an orange. And I want you to smell that orange and just connect to the feeling that that has for you. What do you feel? So can somebody answer for me real quick? when they see that orange, what kind of a feeling it evokes for them?
It's like a soothing sensation.
Soothing.
Cool,
Great.
soothing sensation, yeah.
Any other words come to mind?
For me, it was bright.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, I like that. Yeah, so citrus oils are known to be very uplifting. And just like Linda was talking about the things that reach up to the sky or the roots that go down, our essential oils have those same energies. So if you think about the oils that are in a tree, like citruses, they're going to have that uplifting note. Things that come from the ground or from a tree are going to have a more grounding feeling, grounding scent. So aromatically, you can use a diffuser, you can put some in your hand and take a deep breath, put it on a cotton ball. So that's aromatically. Topically, essential oils. The science behind essential oils that's coming out now is phenomenal. And topically, they can have all kinds of effects, from soothing physical discomfort in our joints and in our muscles, to stopping the itch of a bug bite, or soothing a sunburn. So, and helping with many things that way. Our skin is our biggest organ, and what we put on our skin goes in our skin. And so again, topically, you can ease all kinds of stomach discomfort. There's just a huge array of what an essential oil can do. The last way, and the most controversial way, of using an essential oil is internally. So there's a lot of questions as whether that's safe or not. And I will tell you, first of all, that on a daily basis, every one of you ingests essential oils. If you're eating basil, or you're eating rosemary, or you're cooking with spices, you're already eating and ingesting essential oils. So the concentration becomes a question. And I will tell you that purity, sourcing makes a huge difference again. And I will also say that there are not only thousands, but millions of people that are using essential oils internally to support their body in many ways on a daily basis without any ill effects. So there are safe ways to do it. You certainly don't want to be taking oregano and dripping it into your mouth and swallowing it. You will cause caustic burns to your throat, but there are safe ways to use them internally. And they have a lot of really amazing effects that way. So we talked about the power of aroma and how it affects your mood. It can change things very, very quickly. And so that it can be very relaxing, it can be uplifting, it can be calming. So the multiples of ways that you can use essential oils to change mood and use the power of aroma. I'm sure many of you, this is a picture of them mowing a lawn, because you've walked by when you've had grass being cut, and it hits you. Some people like it, some people find it overwhelming. So that is one of the powers. Another thing I love about essential oils is when you look at price per drop, even the most expensive oils. And again, I'm going to tell you, if you're buying essential oils and all of them cost $10, you have a problem. You're not getting the quality of the oils. Oils can be as inexpensive as something like lemongrass, which is $10 a bottle, to Melissa, which is, I believe it's like close to $100 a bottle. And this has to do with how much plant material, what goes into picking the oils, where it's sourced. All of those things make a difference. But even with that most expensive oil, the price per drop, when you're talking about what you're accomplishing, is going to be so economical in what you're doing. So I'm going to run through some of the uses for oils. The world of essential oils can be overwhelming to people, because they're like, oh, I can't know all of these oils. So I'm here to help guide people, number one, in understanding your basic constructs, like I said before, citrus is being uplifting, trees and roots being grounding, spices being stimulating. And then from there, you can start to understand what things you can use for the purposes that you need, and what can blend better. And also because of what I call bio-individuality, I am also trained as a holistic health coach, and that was one of the constructs that we learned is bio-individuality. I have seen vegetarians that live very, very healthy, and I have seen omnivores that live very, very healthy, and I've seen both that look like crap and are not healthy. So we are bio-individual. I think there are certain things which I'm sure you're going to learn from Estelle, like sugar, that none of us need, but other things that support us. So same thing with essential oils. There are calming oils. Lavender may be a great oil for you, not so good for me. Cedar would may be great for me and not so great for you. So seasonal discomfort, that's what we've got going on. A lot of sneezing, they can be used to support that. It's as simple as taking a breath with an essential oil that's going to open your airways. But there are also essential oils. There's a blend that is made with lavender, lemon, and peppermint that I have used that actually works on the body on a similar effect as an antihistamine. And if you look at some of the stuff that's out there and the secondary effects to these antihistamines that we're taking, they can have a negative effect. Now, again, this is not medicine. This is going to support your body in helping it to fend off its symptoms. Respiratory function, I picked a lot of the summer things that we're going through. We're getting more active, a lot of really great oils for opening that airway so that you can be more active, so that you can run easier. Peppermint has been shown, they did a study on peppermint with athletes, that they were able to be 3 times more active when they inhaled peppermint, and their recovery time was much better. So it's as simple as, again, putting a drop in your hand and taking a breath. Too much heat. I go back to my peppermint again. I love peppermint. It is one of those oils that is just used for so many things. It's a refreshing oil. So when we talk about heat, I don't only talk about summer heat. I talk about that heat that so many of us women complain about after a certain time of life, those flashes. And so again, you can take things that are going to change your chemistry, or you can use something as simple as clary calm to support your hormone balance and a little bit of peppermint, and then you're not ingesting things that are going to throw your whole system off. Muscle support. I don't only talk about essential oils with muscle support, but I think that there are some really great supplements that help to support muscles. And the company that I work with, doTERRA, is a wellness company. So things like, turmeric, I'm sure we've heard, is really great for supporting inflammation. Copaiba is one of my favorite oils. It works on the endocannabinoid system. So in a similar way to CBD, and they can work synergistically together, but some people don't want to use CBD. I've used them both. But really good for supporting muscles, and something soothing as like, we have a blend called Deep Blue, which not only helps with the pain, but the inflammation that goes on. So you want to address the cause. I'm going to mix this. So at the pool, we're going to be exposed to chlorine and irritation with that. Lavender is an amazing oil for soothing that irritation that you might get from the pool, getting chlorine in your eyes. Lavender is a very soothing oil. Frankincense, again, very soothing to the body. And again, time-wise, I'm running through this. Our feminine health, there are so many oils to support that feminine health. Clary Calm, or the one that just Whisper is a really great one that I love, or Clary Calm is a really great one. It's a blend of clary sage and some other oils that help to support our women's health from the beginning of when we start our cycles to the time that we're 99 and starting to sag. You can use them for travel, helping with travel sickness. This is again summer oils that we can use. On planes, we're out there right now. They've been studied to be very antibacterial, antiviral, and help with fending things off that are out there. Digestive health, just to support your digestive health, things like cinnamon and fennel and peppermint. I was using fennel in water yesterday, and it, just as a way to help with my digestion. There are lots of great blends. Essential oils for the skin. Again, women put thousands, hundreds, what do they say? I think on a daily basis, they put about 12 products on their skin for beautification, and a lot of them have harmful effects. So using and replacing things you're already using with things that are non-toxic and that are going to actually be beneficial to your skin is one of the things that essential oils can do. The poisonous plants that we have out there. These are just so many of the uses that we have. Lavender, I mentioned before, as if you're having lavender, I call the Swiss Army knife of essential oils, because there's so many things that you can do with it. It's a very calming oil. Bruises, burns, scrapes, natural insect repellents. There are, again, tons and tons things that you use. So, some of the reasons that I choose doTERRA as far as an essential oil company, it's actually one of the largest essential oils company in the world. They're the most tested and most trusted in the market. They're used in hospitals by physicians worldwide, ethically and sustainably sourced. One of the things I love is something called co-impact sourcing, and the next slide will just kind of bring that to light as to what that means. We work directly with our farmers. So we don't have our own farms. We don't grow our own oils. We work with farms around the world where things have been grown for forever. It's a privately owned company and completely debt-free. These women are women that are being empowered by co-impact sourcing. There are many, many stories of people like this who are now able to support their families. The company helps with schools and hospitals throughout the world, and they make a huge difference in what's happening out there. So it's not just brokers that have the essential oils. There's energy behind who's picking the oils. There's energy behind how and where they're sourced. And that for me is very, very meaningful. So when people ask me about organic, it's very hard to certify organic all around the world. But we do tests. We do tests for toxins. We do tests for purity. And the other thing which means so much to me as a nurse and somebody who has looked at the science is the science behind essential oils. And doTERRA really, really works on the science of why they work and what they're doing in their body. And, if you have an orange grown in Italy versus an orange grown in Florida, they're going to have different sciences, different constructs. So quick primer on essential oils. There's much more. If you want to learn more and go deeper and tell me, work with what things are going to help you. This is me. I'm an RN and a certified health coach. That's my email address, my phone number, and my website, which needs work. So there we are, essential oils in a quick nutshell.
Yeah, and quickly, something Deb didn't say that I want to say about her is that you can meet with her and you can tell her what's going on with you, and she can write a prescription, and I use that term very loosely, to cater to your specific situation. She's not a cookie cutter. I want to sell 3 bottles today. I want to recruit 10 people today. That's not who she is. She's very authentic. That's why I chose her to be a part of this, because I know, her passion comes in front of her money making. And so that's true about everybody here, but that's definitely true about her. So I invite everyone to do a one-on-one with her and freely discuss. She's bound by HIPAA. She will not tell your business to anybody. She's very ethical in that way. Anything that's going on with you, and she will have some possible solutions. Right, Deb?
Exactly. And again, I'm glad you used the word very loosely, because
she's not a doctor and she's not practicing medicine.
And these are not medicines. They are not meant to replace anything, but they
maybe what I'll say is she'd make a custom recipe for you.
Support. There you go. I like that one. Yeah. Support your body. They soothe discomfort. And I think the main thing is that they support your body, because your body, and I think the other 2 practitioners will agree with me on this, your body has the ability to pretty much heal from just about anything, given the right resources. So I'm not doing the healing. The essential oils are not doing the healing. It's your body that is given the right environment so that it can do what it needs to do. And, if you put yourself in a wrong situation anyhow. And other things that you can do are fun things with essential oils. If you want a recipe, email me. Essential oil infused drinks. We can have our cocktails or mocktails with essential oils that give it a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Well,
there is one thing I really want to say quickly, because I did want to talk about safety. There are safety things that you want to know about essential oils. And so if you are using essential oils out there, using a carrier oil is one of the best things. I sometimes will use things like lavender without a carrier oil. And then citrus oils can also create a problem with the sun. If you're using them directly on the skin, they can cause some photosensitivity when you're out in the sun. So just two words of caution when you're using oils.
Yeah, and there's not every oil is not edible, like wintergreen. Don't eat that.
No, don't do that.
Yeah. Well, and now, great job, Deb. Everybody say yay, Deb.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. And the next person, yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a follow-up email to everybody who's attended, and I'm going to give everybody's contact information so that you can reach out to Dr. Estelle, Deb, or the Rogue Nurse, or the Magnet Lady, Gaya. So a great point there in the chat. The next person is Dr. Estelle. Would you like to share, or are you just going to speak, or what?
Well, I created slides for those people that like to look at something as opposed to the auditory learners in the room. So I will share my screen. And then I'm going to put myself over here in the corner so I can still see everybody. But hello, and thank you so much for coming, spending your lunch hour here, and also to Linda for setting all of this up. And I'm really honored to be here with both Deb and Gaya, because they were really, when Deb was talking about bioavailable individuality and all of the things that we can do, I truly believe that there's a blend of Western and Eastern medicine that we as individuals can use to get that lifelong wellness. And as you know, I am a doctor of physical therapy, and so I see what happens when we aren't taking care of our bodies firsthand. And that is what led me to become a certified nutrition coach, because I was really curious about how can we be more proactive and have preventative health, because I think our healthcare system, at least in this country, is very much in terms of like reactive, like this is the problem, now I'm going to fix it. And we tend to focus on the symptoms and not the underlying cause. And that is why when I work with my clients individually, we really focus on these 5 foundational habits, because it's so easy when people want to get healthy, they tend to think about losing weight. Like that's the first thing. People are like, oh, I got to lose weight. And that's not always what you want. What can happen is that when you have these 5 foundational habits and you are making steps towards improving them on a daily basis, the weight loss comes as a side effect from bringing your body into balance, decreasing your toxins, decreasing that inflammation, and getting that nutrient-dense foods and movement and mindset that really sets you up for success. So I think when you think about the habits that you have today, right? What are you doing every day? It seems so innocuous to have excess sugar or not moving your body or not drinking enough water. But what is going to happen if you do that every single day? What is your health going to look like 20 years from now, 30 years from now? Because by the time you get to that point, it's too late to make those changes, right? So we need to start being very proactive about our health now. And when I was talking about dieting, it's really, I just think it's fascinating that when I was looking online, just seeing how many diets people have gone on, the average person has tried 126 diets in their lifetime, which is mind-boggling to think about that number. But then the reality is that's because most of them are abandoned after 6 days. So that's why people can do that many. And I'm sure, it's one of those health resolutions all the time to lose weight. And so for me, my focus is not when I work with my clients about what the number on the scale says. It's really about how are you really supporting your health? And in that way, the ones that I like to focus on are, let me see if I can advance this: sleep, nutrition, hydration, movement, and mindset. Because our long-term health is a result of being proactive and having these preventative, healthy choices that we are making every day. So I'll just delve into a little one. Of course, my favorite is sleep, because it seems like the most easy thing, right? But if I asked you how many hours you slept last night, would you know? So Sandra, how many hours did you sleep last night?
I'd say 7.
7?
That was close.
Okay. And was it quality sleep? Did you wake up feeling refreshed for the day?
Pretty much. With age, you have to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, but I fell back to sleep pretty easily. So yeah.
No, that's great. And it's good to know, right? Because I think I'll have a little something for you at the end of this presentation, but being aware of how much sleep you're getting has a huge impact, because that time of having good restorative sleep means that your body can regenerate, repair, renew. It can do all that housekeeping it doesn't have time to do when you're awake. So it is really important to make sleep a priority, because when we are well rested, we find that the people that are chronically sleep deprived, which tends to be Westerners, it's linked to obesity. And that is because when you are not getting enough sleep at night, the next day, your body is going to look for energy from food. And what food does it typically get drawn to? Those high caloric foods that give you that quick jolt of energy, but then it's dissipated. So that's why sleep is very important when it comes. It's also for hormone balance. So that ghrelin and leptin hormones, they are regulated through your sleep. And so the higher incidence of diabetes and high blood pressure. So all of these chronic preventable illnesses stem back to the sleep. So when you are, hopefully when you're going to the doctor, they're asking you, how much sleep are you getting? Because that is an important link. But so often that's not a question that's going to be asked at the doctor's office. And that's why I like to highlight that to people and creating a sleep ritual. So I'm not sure if everybody on this call has children, but when we had children, what did you do at bedtime? You had a bedtime routine, right? You got, had story time, bath time, you dimmed the lights, maybe you had a lullaby, but there was a definite way for your child to know that we are now getting ready for sleep. But as adults, do we do the same thing? Do we sit on the couch, watch that, a couple of Netflix shows, turn off the TV while scrolling the phone and go straight to bed? There was not a natural transition for your body to realize, okay, let's cut off our devices. Let's not have heavy meals, no exercising, nicotine, any of those things, 3 or 4 hours before you're going to bed, so that you can have that natural circadian rhythm, getting you ready, having your melatonin ramp up so that you're getting ready for sleep. So I would encourage you that if you don't have some sort of sleep ritual, and it doesn't have to be hours long, just maybe 10, 15 minutes, where after you wash up, maybe you read 10 pages of book, an actual book, because that white light that you get from Kindles and those electronic devices are still keeping you awake. So or maybe you listen to some soothing music, or there are lots of apps that are like the Calm app, meditation apps that you can just listen to help lull you into a deeper sleep, because that is very important. So, of course, my favorite topic is always going to be nutrition. My tagline is eat well to sleep well. Live well. What was it? It's living with that. Eat well to live well. And why? Because I really feel that there is a power in nutrition. I'm not against any Western medicines, but what I do think is that when we are feeding our bodies with nutrient-dense food, we are better able to do so many things in our lives. And focusing on protein, greens, fat, fiber, because these foods stabilize our blood sugar. And that's what we want. We don't want these high spikes in our blood sugars from having high carbohydrate type foods, right? So, and when we're talking about good nutrition, I'm not saying you need to deprive yourself of things. I like to focus on an 80-20 lifestyle when it comes to my clients, or 90-10 if they really want to be optimal. But I find that if you are cutting out things completely, you tend to feel restricted and then binge on them. And that's not the way to go. So if you plan for indulgence, look at the course of your week and know, okay, fine, I'm going to go out for brunch on Saturday, or I'm going to the ballet with Lyndon. We're going to have dinner beforehand. What kinds of foods am I going to eat? But it's about moderation, because that is our key to sustainable, lasting results. And so the thing that I really want to focus on as well is those inflammatory foods. So these are foods that they have found through research really tend to lead to disease in our bodies. So what are some inflammatory foods? So of course, sugar. It's very addictive. They put it in everything. So if you're looking at labels, you'll notice some form of OSE, O-S-E, in the foods. And you want to find foods that limit that, because it's some of those things, like the ultra processed foods, are made in a way for them to be highly palatable, and you literally can't just have a small serving. Pringles, I think their slogan is, bet you can't eat just one. And that's because they have designed them so that they are highly palatable, and you literally can't just have one Pringle. You'll probably eat quite a few. Saturated fats, artificial trans fats are really one of the most unhealthy fats to have, and they are actually they add a hydrogen component to fats to make them the liquids soluble, right? Solid. So that would be like margarine, for instance. And all of these foods, such as in the refined carbohydrates, what happens with that is fiber is great, but when you remove the fiber, the gut needs the fiber for the healthy gut bacteria to feed it. It also helps with fullness. But these refined carbohydrates like donuts and pastries and chips and cookies, you'll find that you can eat a lot more of them, because they don't trigger your senses in your stomach for fullness, because there's not enough fiber, fat, or protein in them. Those are the foods that's going to help your brain and your stomach realize that you've had enough to eat. So when it comes to having enough to eat, some of my clients have found great success really becoming very mindful about their eating by having an eating window. And so for some people, be like, oh, intermittent fasting is a fad. Actually, intermittent fasting has been around for centuries. It's part of lots of religious cultures. If you think of hunter-gatherers, right, they would hunt and then they would eat, and then there's nothing. There were periods of not eating, and we should go back to that so that our bodies can use up our glucose. It can start tapping into its fat stores. But when we are always constantly eating, if you start your day with a cup of coffee with cream and sugar, and at 10 o'clock at night, you're still sitting on the couch nibbling on something, That means that you've had a really wide eating window. What's the next thing you do? You go to bed, you wake up, and the cycle repeats. And your body really doesn't have time to start digesting what it already has. And there's some really great evidence linking intermittent fasting to improvements in your blood glucose, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your weight. It does help control inflammation, but you have to do it in a sensible way. And so for me, I coach people on how to do it, because there are lots of ideas of just not eating for 24 hours. No, we're wanting to have balance, focusing on maybe an 8-hour window where you start your meals and end your meals, and what do you eat during that time? Nutrient-dense foods that are helping you towards your goals, help you feel full, and can really make you feel much better. And that one way to do it as well is to look at foods when you're eating. Think of the things like that you just had. Did it make you feel bloated after? Were you gassy? Did you feel sluggish? That's going to be a food that you put on your eat less list. And then they're going to foods that you have and you're like, oh my gosh, I felt good after that. I could eat just the right amount. It gave me the energy to do what I needed to do. Those are going to be your eat more foods. And so with my clients, we make a list of the eat less and the eat more foods so that you have a balance of having those indulgences, but not feeling crummy all the time, because nobody wants to feel crummy all the time. So the next one, of course, is hydration. Some people are really great at getting in water and others are not. And so I love that Deb was sharing about essential oils, because this is one of the things that I talk to my clients about. Like, if you don't like the taste of plain water, there are fun ways to make your water taste better so that you can increase your water intake, because even being mildly dehydrated can affect you mentally and physically. Sometimes people will reach for food when they're really thirsty. And by the time you feel thirsty, you're actually dehydrated. So having a glass of water upon waking, having another one with each of your meals will already knock off 4 glasses of water per day. The aim is for half your body weight in ounces of water. But of course, if you're exercising or live in a warm climate where you're sweating a lot, you want to increase that. But other things that you can do is you can add herbs, infuse fruit into your water, having a reusable water bottle with you all the time, have a big glass on your desk. So when it's empty, you get up, which also helps you get up and move, and get a glass of water. There are some apps that will remind you. I have a little app on my watch that is always telling me to drink more water. So I'm very obedient, so I go and I drink my water. But being well hydrated, you'll find that it also helps flush out those toxins. We're taking in toxins from everywhere. If you're eating and you're breathing, you're taking in toxins, whether you mean to or not. It's everywhere. So drinking lots of water will help flush you out, give you a great complexion, help with your regularity, and it does increase your energy. So some people like adding some lemon water. Like my mom used to start her day with a glass of warm lemon water every day. And so I need to go back to that, because she had some great skin. So, but that's definitely one. The other thing, of course, is movement. I really think we need to move our bodies more. I know this pandemic has had people be homebound for a long time, and whether you had a job where you had to go out and now you have a desk job at home, finding ways to use it or you will lose it. As a physical therapist, I see it at the hospital, people not being mobile, and when you're not using those muscles, you have that loss of lean muscle mass and just loss of strength. I mean, for myself, when I had my hip surgery in February, I was immobilized for several weeks, and I was surprised at the size of my one leg compared to the other, because I didn't use the muscles, right? And when I say movement, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You don't have to be running a half marathon every weekend, but just find something that you enjoy, that you can do regularly, vary the intensity and the type and the duration, involve your family, meet up with a friend, go for a walk. It can be also a social time, and it's a great de-stressor too. So aiming for 30 minutes of purposeful movement 5 times a week has been the recommendation. And I do find that if you are sitting at a desk and you're starting to lose productivity, just get up, go for a brisk walk, either in your house, up and down the stairs, around your neighborhood quickly for 10, 15 minutes. You can come back, you were a little energized, and you can start fresh again, as opposed to sitting there and not being as productive because you are drained. So of course, there's plenty of benefits for movement. And one of the things I do like to recommend for people, especially over 40, is to make sure to include strength training and making sure that you're working on your balance. Because as we age, the one thing I see in the hospital is older folks falling and breaking a hip. And that can be really debilitating. So making sure you focus on strength training so we can increase that bone density and take care of our bodies and stay strong. And last but not least, one of the things I really think it's important for all of us to focus on is our mindset. So what is a mindset? I think it's a key to a healthy life. It's not about being positive all the time, but being able to take the situation you're in. And I like to say, it's like I visit my negative thoughts, but I don't live there, right? So you can acknowledge it and then let it go, and finding ways to really focus on positivity. So because I truly believe that our thoughts are powerful. So our thoughts lead to our feelings, and our feelings lead to what actions we take, and the actions we take lead to the results we have. And it's just a circle, right? And so if we can start our day, whether you want to meditate, and some people are like, oh, I'm not into meditation, that's fine. How about starting your day with a gratitude practice where you wake up and you list 3 things you're grateful for in the morning. And then at the end of the day, before you go to bed, list 3 things that you are grateful for that happened today. Mine today will be that I got to spend an hour and a half with some amazing ladies on my lunch break, that I have Linda in my life to support me and help me grow, so that my family is happy today. My son's at camp and he is just tickled that he's out doing geeky science stuff, because that's what he's excited about. But it doesn't have to be deep. It could be just that you had some 5 minutes to yourself where you could drink a cup of coffee and no one bothered you. So just consider ways, and also surrounding yourself with positive people. I honestly believe that when you have people in your life that help raise your energy level, and I know that Gaya is going to talk about energy, but I truly believe that you find people in your life that after you've had a conversation with them, or you see their name come up on your caller ID, you immediately feel like your vibration increases. And then there are those people, they are there when you have left them. It's like they've taken some of your energy with them. And it's really create those boundaries in your life so that you can protect your energy, you can have that positivity, and look for ways that you can grow, whether it's through personal development, reading something, listening to podcasts. There's plenty of positivity out in the world that you can really help fuel your mind so that you can make better choices. So lastly, I just think that we have a lot more control than we think, whether it's with our food, our mindset, just in our lives in general. And then we should be the architect of our life so that we can create the lasting results we want, right? So focusing on these 5 daily habits, making small improvements that are consistent over time will give you that lifelong wellness. And so I have this little tracker that I've shared with my clients, because I think a lot of times people aren't aware of what's happening in their lives on a daily basis. So this is a 2-week habit tracker where you can track your water, sleep, movement, mindset, and nutrition over the course of 2 weeks. And then you can see what patterns you have. So perhaps on Monday and Tuesday, you're killing it when it comes to movement and water and your sleep. But then by Thursday and Friday, things are sort of going south. So that means you can be more intentional in the latter half of the week, knowing that this is where your downfalls are. It's also a great way for you to celebrate, saying, hey, I'm actually doing really well on my sleep, and that is having positive effects on my long-term health. So I will email this out to everybody so that you have a habit tracker, and I would love to have a conversation where we can talk about what did you notice? And if there's ways that I can provide some strategies in the areas that you would like some help in, I'm always happy to do that. So definitely get on my calendar. Let's have a one-on-one and chat and see how we can get you living well for life.
Wonderful. Great presentation.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good job, Dr. Estelle. And thank you for being here today. I loved everything you said. I've already made notes. I wrote my sleep ritual out. I'm changing everything. And bringing it home is our lovely magnet lady, Miss Gaya. So take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to have to edit, because there was so much that I probably would have said, that Debbie said, and that Estelle said. So I'm gonna have to see.
Well, and that just shows that we're all in line with each other, which is a
That's
beautiful
okay. I was
thing.
thinking I should have added as Estelle was talking. So you're right. I think all three of us are on the same.
Yeah, I picked well. This cocktail of women are just really complementary, and yet each has their own individual, strengths. So it's a wonderful thing.
I absolutely enjoyed both presentations. Can I?
Yeah, you can share.
Yeah.
Well, I gave that ability to everybody.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Where am I? There we go.
Great.
Right. There we go. Okay. So today I'm going to share with you a few secrets on our healing power and how we can truly heal even when we're not a doctor or a physical therapist, or there are so many things that we can do just that are practical without having tons of medical experience, right? And so certainly there are experts out there and that we can go to, but there's so much that we can do just from the, from our home, from our own space. And so I'm going to share with you some information that has been very powerful to me and how I've been able to become independent of many, medical procedures and medications and what have you. I completely agree. I think that Estelle had mentioned how we have, all of us, and Debbie said that too, we all have the power to heal our own bodies. And I couldn't agree more. And so just imagine for a second to have freedom from pain, to eat anything that we choose, to carry on a normal life, to feel good, not only on the outside, but also on the inside, to be able to have a fully restful sleep, to be able to laugh again and smile again and feel optimistic about life. And this is where I invite you all to think outside the box right now. We can defy gravity. I think we've been told many things on how there are incurable conditions and how, depending on our condition, we have to take medications forever and ever and ever. Well, this is where I invite you to sort of break that box, break that mold, because I have found over the last 12 years that this is not actually true. It's not that we've been lied to, it's just that there are ways in which we can become health independent. And so what if the impossible actually is possible? What if things like cancer and leukemia and Lyme and HIV could be cured? The only reason I say this is because I've seen it happen. And while this may sound absurd, ridiculous, what is this woman talking about? I wouldn't be here if I hadn't seen it myself time and time again. And so this is where the mold breaks. This is where perhaps the paradigms that believe these things are going to shift into the old, because there's a new paradigm. And the new paradigm is that there is no incurable condition. We can and quickly heal ourselves, our friends, our pets, our clients. And so I have found that every single condition, every single disease, even those considered genetic, and I say genetic because oftentimes what's genetic isn't actually genetic. It may be passed on, the same germs that our mom had, that we have, that float around in our family. And so we see these things repeat themselves because either emotionally or physically, we are in the same environment and therefore attracting them. But if they were genetic, then we wouldn't be able to overcome them. And yet we can. And that's why I question how much of it is genetics and more of it is shared emotions and shared germs and shared ways of eating and thinking and behaving. So transformative change is within our grasp. And I'm not going to talk about myself. I think, Linda already introduced, but I have worked in health and mental health for the last 25 years. In alternative medicine for the last 12. And I was introduced about 12 years ago to a technique called biomagnetism. And I'm going to share a little bit about what that is in a minute. But what I do see, and I don't mean to put down or degrade anyone here or any specific profession, but what I do see is a trend in which the system is failing us. And oftentimes we go and see a doctor and we don't get clear answers. Sometimes the tests are inconclusive and you can get a positive and then a negative and then a positive and so how accurate are some tests? And all of the solutions that we find, not all of them, but many of the solutions that are offered to us many times, depending on the condition, can have a risk to them, can carry a risk to them. From even an X-ray carries a risk, to an ultrasound carries a risk. And so there are many solutions, but there are also many risks to some of these solutions. Right? And then we have big pharma and their questionable motives. And then we've got all this insurance driven stuff that says, well, you can't get that test, but you can get this test. And we're not going to approve this treatment, but we will approve this treatment. And so, sometimes the most effective things are not covered, right? And so what we do see is this trend in which humanity is getting sicker. And we're bombarded with all this disease marketing now more than ever, right? And it's fear-based marketing too. And so what I've seen in my own experience and what I see with my clients over time, and when I worked I used to run a department at a major hospital in South Florida, was that oftentimes we couldn't get to what actually caused the condition. And then treatments could become, well, let's try this out. Oh, and if it doesn't work, then let's try this out. And if that doesn't work, then let's do surgery. And so, being able to understand what caused something to begin with, it gets difficult to get clear answers. And then what I find oftentimes in my clients is that usually they come to something like biomagnetism because they heard that it worked for something else, or they heard that it worked for something else, but because they truly didn't get progress with the traditional methods that they knew. And so what is the solution to this situation? I think that one of the things that has been offered to you today is that sometimes we can look at things that are natural, that are non-toxic, and get further and get more results than those that actually have high risks to them. And so I invite you to explore alternative and ancient medicine, because while oils and essential oils have been around for thousands of years, as have people knowing how nutrition can influence our life, and so have magnets. So magnets have been used therapeutically in the records for over 5,000 years. In fact, Cleopatra used to use one here for anti-aging, and Queen Elizabeth used to use one for gout. And so we've seen, great philosophers throughout time use magnets to heal many, many conditions. Why? I think Linda gave you a little bit of a preview as to why magnets can help heal. So take some notes if you'd like at this point. The thing is that our cells are fractional magnets. When we look at an atom, and so trillions of atoms make up one cell, and then trillions of cells make up an organ. When we look at the basic foundation of the smallest particle in our body, it's made up of a neutron, which is a neutral electric charge, protons around that nucleus, and an equal number of electrons to the protons, which basically are, you've got a neutral charge, positive charges, and negative charges. And that's what we're made up of. We look in a microscope, we are made up of trillions and trillions of fractional magnets. Because when we look at a magnet has a negative side, a negative electric charge, and a positive side. In fact, when we look at the world, we have polarities. The planet has its north and south pole. And the closer we get to the equator, we have more biodiversity. In other words, when we get to that point neutral, there is more life. And the further we get from that, equator, we have ice. There's less biodiversity, more depression, more conditions that throw off our body. In fact, there have been many studies done, and I'll share something with you a little bit later. So we are pure electricity. When that atom loses an electron or gains an extra electron, what happens is that it becomes overly acidic or overly alkaline. Multiply this many times over, and now we have an overly acidic or overly alkaline liver, or an overly acidic or overly alkaline stomach. And the same happens in different parts of our body. In that imbalance, disease happens, emotional imbalance happens, conditions and symptoms grow. And so we are truly biomagnetic beings. Our biology is magnetic. And so this state of not feeling well reflects over acidic or overly alkaline environments in our body. I think Estelle was mentioning how our environment influences our health. And so this is another way to look at it simply, is that our electromagnetic state is influenced by what we eat, how we feel, how we live our life, the germs that we're exposed to, the toxins that we've been exposed to, the amount of medications and procedures that we've been exposed to, events of trauma. All of this influences that bioelectricity that we have within us. And so how can we recover it? One of the ways that I found to quickly recover health is through this therapeutic method called biomagnetism. And so our health is based on not just physical conditions, but it's influenced by our emotions and it's influenced by our thoughts. And all of this can throw us off balance or bring us back into balance. Truly, if we dig deep enough, behind every physical condition, there's an emotion. In fact, certain emotions hide in certain parts of our body. And germs like that can also hide in very specific parts of our body. They can hide in our tendons, in our eyes, in our ears, in any particular place. And where they hide says something about the emotions that we're also hiding and haven't resolved. So secret number 2 is magnets can help us heal because they have the same properties as our healthy atoms. And they can get these germs out of our body and push toxins out of our body and push toxic emotions out of our body by bringing these atoms and cells and organs back into this perfect state of health. It's simple medicine. And wouldn't it be, I would say, don't shoot me for saying this, but wouldn't it be wonderful if the prescription really was an essential oil or a healthy diet or use magnets this way versus let's take some medications, even though they might make you go blind, right? Like a shingles medication that I almost took. So in the world of biomagnetism, we can heal any condition. The human body is the healer. But when you apply these magnets therapeutically and you complement it with other things like healthy nutrition or essential oils or healthy practices like yoga and grounding, getting enough sunlight, then we can overcome any condition. If we were sent to the moon without any special equipment, we wouldn't be able to survive in that space. The same thing is true about germs in our body. If we change the alkalinity, acidity levels to what is neutral, depending on the organ or the space, because every organ has a different kind of pH, then we can flush out the toxins, our body can repair, and we can get our health back. So back in the 80s, Dr. Richard Boringmeyer, he was the chief medical director of NASA. This guy was in charge of making sure that the astronauts were in top health before they left the Earth's magnetic field and went on to space. But what he observed when they came back was that they had all kinds of health distortions. In other words, the further we get from the Earth's magnetic field, the more we get sick. That's why when we fly, oftentimes people will come back with their immune suppressed, with some kind of cold, or they catch something, because the further we get from the ground, there's changes in that bioelectricity in our cells. In fact, another wonderful scientist in Japan did a study on people that live in tall buildings. And what he found was that the further people lived, or the longer hours they spent working in a tall building, the further it was from the ground, the more incidences they had of either fibromyalgia, arthritis, osteoporosis, insomnia, anxiety, and other things. In other words, grounding ourselves and becoming closer to the Earth's magnetic field helps us heal, helps us stay healthy. And so what Dr. Boringmeyer did was that he had trained with a professor out of the University of Florida. He had learned about this biomagnetism. So he started to apply magnets therapeutically, and he found specific places in certain parts of the body that had been thrown off of their ideal pH and got them back to health, and was able to help them get aligned again and get them back to health. So he then presented his work throughout the world to different medical communities, yet his higher ups told him to stop because this was truly remarkable work that could change the face of health. A couple years later, he died, some weird death. And so health and recovering our health is not rocket science. The closer we get to the Earth's magnetic field, the closer we get to becoming healthy. In fact, if we choose to walk on the ground barefoot, we could get better faster. So what do magnets do? When we look at the negative polarity of a magnet, it can actually send a lot of oxygen. It can reduce inflammation. It can dissolve fat. It can dissolve a tumor or a cyst. It can help to resolve a pimple. And then the positive polarity can help excite, stimulate, increase, raise body temperature. But when we use them in this therapeutic way, we can help to resolve by creating a balance. So this is the third and final secret, is that our body sends us signals. So our cells have memory. They contain every experience that we ever had. So in biomagnetism, we use this technique called kinesiology, or muscle testing. I don't know how many of you have heard of muscle testing before, but muscle testing is basically a way to connect with the cellular information to be able to understand what's going on in the human body. In fact, I'll be teaching a class in kinesiology, I think next week, because all of us have this ability to be able to connect with the information in our cells to find out what is right for us, what is the right nutrition for us, what is the right, hydration method for us. Should we be drinking lemon water versus just plain water? Estelle, you had mentioned how your mother, kept beautiful skin with lemon water. And so when we use kinesiology, we can get down to the root cause. We don't have to guess. We take out the guesswork out of what's going on with us, and we can figure out specifically which germs are in our body, which toxins or heavy metals in our body, where to apply the magnets to flush them out. And this is the technique called biomagnetism. So when we combine the understanding of our cells and what they really are to combining magnets with this muscle testing, then we can truly get ourselves back to health. And so many conditions, in fact, every condition is created by this imbalance that we've talked about. I think all of us have mentioned how we can get ourselves back to health using these natural methods. And so I absolutely love biomagnetism, and I'm not sure if I'm over time. I wasn't checking. No, I'm still with time. But I did want to make sure that everybody has time for questions and answers, besides just for my presentation, for Estelle and for Debbie. And so in a nutshell, we have the capacity to heal any condition. So
that sounds so sensational that it's like hard to believe. But Gaya has told me about people who come to her all hunched over and left the next time they came back from their next appointment, they were walking upright and considerably less pain. So it's fascinating, this whole idea. And I want to make sure I say this. I'm not looking to convert anyone's thinking. I'm just looking to expose you to possibilities. Everything is not for everybody. And, and everybody's in a different place. I completely want to honor the place that you're in. And so if you think this doesn't sound like for me, that's okay. That's totally fine. If you want to focus right now at this point in your life, in your journey, you want to focus on your diet, or you want to focus on eliminating, toxins in your environment, that's fine too. I'm happy that I felt like I can't know this and not share it. So I wanted to just share the information because maybe I could make a difference in someone's life that's substantial. And I would love to be a part of helping anybody else have a better quality of life. I'm going to stop.
When I hear a talk like this, and I hear Estelle, and I hear